So, you know I have autism and ADHD by this point. That's no secret. I've covered multiple autistic interests of mine and others on this channel before. But there's one thing that is going to come to the channel that I haven't seen any real ASMR content for. And it was a big autistic interest of mine, and it still is. And that is bugs. I love arthropods. Ever since I was a kid, I seriously loved arthropods. And I need you to understand how much I loved arthropods. When I was 4 years old, I was handling goldenrod crab spiders on my fingertips. I held my first jumping spider in my palm when I was 5. My favorite pastime at that age was catching fireflies and releasing them back into the wild. Also when I was 4, I was bitten. Yes, bitten, not stung, bitten by the mandibles of a red wasp because apparently I was too good for it or something. But this caused me to forever hate and fear these animals afterwards. I would be stung by said animal also when I was 4, twice later on. I would travel into flower fields not because I cared anything about the flowers, but because I followed the butterflies. I'd play around with the harvestmen that would be on the school playground and argue for hours about any kid who dared claim that it was a spider because I knew better that it was not. I was 6, I found a black widow spider hiding in a sandbox and it scared the absolute she out of me. But I didn't do anything to bother it, so she didn't really hurt me. I guess we were chill. I would brag about my encounter with the black widow spider, claiming that I had conquered death and I feared nothing. Until I met this thing and I ran away screaming for my mama. These redeemed themselves when I was 7 because I found out I could handle them pretty easily. I would prevent my parents from killing the cellar spiders that moved into my room. By the time I was 7, I was holding funerals for dead beetles. I could accurately identify brown recluse spiders. The praying mantis was not just my favorite bug, but my most favorite animal, period. Most kids didn't even know what it was, so it weirded them out. And I kid you not, one public school teacher thought the praying in its name was something religious, so I got in trouble. Until my aide informed her that I wasn't praying to some sort of archaic god and that I was talking about an insect. I had started handling katydids on the daily, and the wasps were doing absolutely everything in their power to let me know that they did not want to be my new best friend. I would lay on the ground to try to appear less threatening to watch wolf spiders run around. Sometimes I would run around really fast around the playground with my ADHD overacting, and I would imagine I was a wolf spider myself. One of the first things I ever drew in art class were ladybugs, mantises, and the scorpion. I would always hang in front of the scorpion's glass little terrarium in the pet stores and watch it for hours, and the scorpion quickly cemented itself as my second favorite animal, period. I turned 8, and I started picking up my first cicada moltings off the ground. Also, around this time, I took one of my most memorable vacations I've ever had to the Butterfly Palace in Branson, Missouri. The dock spiders were always a fun sight for me to watch whenever I went anywhere near a lake, but then I'd always run away the minute a water moccasin showed up. Like, you gotta understand how unusual my thought process is. I am 8, a little kid. This thing, it's my new best friend. This thing, Mama, help me, please. And then this thing, I felt like God himself has abandoned me. Also, when I was 8, I beat the crap out of another kid and sent him to a nurse's office, all because he had the audacity to attempt to step on a caterpillar. To this day, I don't feel sorry. He was getting enjoyment out of attempting to kill that thing. He's probably a serial killer in jail somewhere now. I was punished, as you would expect, but the teachers could not get me to learn my lesson, because as far as I was concerned, no matter how much discipline they tried to do to me, I was right. He was trying to hurt an innocent life form, and that I was just being vindicated in being correct. I had become a martyr for the glory of the cause of the bugs of the playground. And I loudly proclaimed out loud for the first time, they hated Jesus because he spoke the truth. I also started telling other kids that they would go to hell if they hurt butterflies. For some bizarre reason, despite the school's intolerance to religion, I didn't get in trouble for this at all. I guess not even the stubborn teachers of the stupid broken public school system could deny the truth. That or I scared the kids so badly that no one dare tell anybody. I would loudly defend Nephilim, yes, I knew its actual scientific name by this age, from anyone that dared claim that it was responsible for biting them at night. I was a staunch Nephilim defender. I gained a hatred for It's a Bug's Life. Why? Because of its insultingly inaccurate portrayal of bugs and arthropods in my mind's eye. Also, because I didn't believe that grasshoppers could be fascist. Keep in mind, this is the same age when I started watching World War II in color. I didn't believe in Orthoptera supremacy, to put it bluntly. So it's a safe bet to say my love of arthropods was predetermined. So I was disappointed to know that there are really no videos of ASMR about bugs. But tonight I'm going to change that. And I thought of, several different bugs we could look at because, there's several arthropods I find interesting. And so join me tonight and we'll talk about one of the more interesting ones, the ogre-faced spider, or the ogre-faced netcatcher. And if you want more of these and, maybe you can suggest creatures for me to talk about, then comment down below and consider joining my Discord. Because I know a lot more than just arthropods. Like, I hope you realize, we can do sea creatures, we can do other animals. I know so much. I have, because this was, my obsession. My autism obsession was just all of these creatures. So if you want more, we can, comment them down below and, join my Discord. There'll be a link in my channel description and also a link in the description of this video. So, yeah. But now we're on to the ogre-faced netcatcher. Now, these are an entire order of arachnids called Dinopidae, or ogre-faced netcatchers as we know them, or netcasters. But their order is Dinopidae, and they are a group of species of, a family of circumtropical cribellate spiders that were first discovered in 1850 by Ludwig Koch, Carl Ludwig Koch, that's his full name. He discovered them in 1850, and they're a family of circumtropical cribellate spiders. Now, this group isn't very large. There's 67 or so individual species within the family across 3 genera, and they're pretty much all confined to the circumtropical region that they're described in. So if you look at this map, you can find them pretty much everywhere, in a lot of places, except barring the rest of Europe. They've been sighted in all this blue, but all this green is where they've been actually seen. So you have hot spots in places like Florida, Madagascar. Any of those really tropical regions seems to be where they're found the most. You can also attribute a lot of the places where they're found. You'll notice they're found in a lot of areas where there's tree cover. And this is important because it's part of a process they go through that I'll describe later on, because these are very interesting spiders. I would say most diehard bug nerds would know about these spiders, but the broader public would probably say they're a bit more obscure because they don't stick out like things like the brown recluse or the black widow, or anything if, say, you're not in America, how the redback and the Sydney funnel web are instantly recognized to Australians, or heck, even just the iconography of the cellar spider. These are a bit more obscure, but they're no less fascinating because of what they can do. Now, they're called cribellate spiders because they don't have your typical standard spinnerets. They have a bunch of perforated plates covering spigots on the back of their abdomen that they use for spinning silk. They don't usually use the normal spinnerets, so their usage of silk outside of what they do with it would be fairly limited because they didn't evolve spinnerets. But they manage with the under-evolved spigot pre-spinneret form fairly well with the special thing that they do. Now, on one of their legs, they have a special comb, and unlike other spiders that use that comb to stroke the silk, make it nice and even, the netcaster will rush, like, I describe it as it looks like you ran your comb through your hair and you've like trussed it up so it looks all fuzzy. They do this because it's a very thick line of silk. It's a very high density silk because they don't have spinnerets to monitor the flow, so it comes out in these big fluffy strands. Now, when it comes to identifying these spiders, there's one really key feature about them that is a dead giveaway, and that is their two huge median eyes. These eyes are massive in proportion to the rest of their head. I can't overstate how big these eyes are. They are huge in comparison to the rest of their head. And these large eyes work to denote them as very clearly a nighttime hunter. They're a nighttime predator. These eyes give them very acute vision and are mostly have a focus on seeing at night vision and absorbing light. They absorb light very well. They absorb light better than the eyes of cats and better than the eyes of owls. They have better night vision than most other animals that will be out at this time. These two eyes are massive, but they completely lack irises. There's no irises. So when daytime comes around, there's nothing protecting these huge eyes, and they are burned to a crisp. They are destroyed. They are basically rendered ineffective. And so what the spider spends all of its time doing throughout the day, since it doesn't really do anything, is it will regrow these eyes every single day. So it has these large optics ready for nighttime because they collect light and it can't stop that. It can't dilate its eyes. And so when daytime is around, they don't really need them because they don't really do anything. During the day, these spiders will just do an impersonation of a twig or a stick, and they will just hang there like a piece of debris caught in a web or something. They don't move, and they focus all of their energy into restoring their eyes. Now, as for danger towards people, do you really have to worry about these? No, not really. They're mostly asleep during the day. If you do find them at night, I don't recommend bothering them while they're hunting. They can rest on your hand during the day. I've handled them myself. They are not spiders that are really inclined to bite, and if they do, it's like, yeah, it'll sting. Like, it's gonna hurt, but it's not medically significant. It's not a medically significant spider bite to worry about. They might seem alarming at first because one of their other major features are their very large fangs. Their fangs are also pretty huge in comparison to the size of their head, or we want to use a scientifically accurate name, their chelicerae are pretty big in comparison to the rest of their head. But it's because these allow the spider to maintain a distance from the prey it's attacking. Because with its drop-down technique that it uses, that we'll go over in a second, it gets really close to the prey. It's like very close to the prey it gets next to. And the thing about all species of spiders is spiders, as successful as they are very under-armored and are very, very vulnerable, especially to insects, because insects have a lot of very sharp weapons. And any, so much as a small cut or a small slash to a spider is a death blow. They will bleed to death, and they will basically not be able to move. If they lose their blood flow, they won't be able to move. So what the netcaster has done here is, because it gets in very close to its prey, it has these very large chelicerae so that it can remain at a distance while it's striking. So its fangs can go in, but it can keep the rest of its body safe from striking distance of any sharp weapon, be it mandibles or the spiked legs of a katydid, for instance, that an insect could bring to bear. And this is especially important with netcasters, maybe even more so with other spiders, is because there's that moment when they're dropping down where they are actually very vulnerable to any attack the insect could launch while they are still wrapping up. The netcaster gets its name because it attacks with a netcast type attack. It will take all the silk and it will make a net that it will then stretch out. They'll pull it outward and it'll stretch it between its front forelegs. And what it will do is it will defecate on the ground to mark a target of where it's going to drop and position itself above and use its large eyes to absorb light so that its smaller eyes can identify the target. You can see it directly underneath. The smaller eyes identify movement. And once it is certain that it's identified what it is, it will then drop down really fast by releasing the spigots holding it up on its silk line. So it'll drop down very quickly. And then it will throw its net down, like use all four of its legs to pin the net down over what it's descended over. And then it will scoop it up with its forelegs, hoist it up, and start wrapping. And then while its front four legs are operating that net, its rear two will then spin incredibly fast to reel itself back up to hoist its prey off the ground. And then it will start drawing out more silk to continue to wrap it up. And then it will eat. And it will do this all night. And depending on the severity of what it's attacking, sometimes it will bite as it drops. So you get a cycle of the way it hunts is it'll wait, drop, bite, pin, scoop, reel, wrap, and then eat. And then start all over again, over and over and over throughout the course of a whole night until dawn, where its eyes are destroyed and it goes back into its twig impersonation. And because it has like one of those weaker venoms, it will bite multiple times. It usually tries to get one in as it's dropping and then will get a few more in once its prey is nice and secure. And so another identifying trait of these spiders is their very large opistosoma, or abdomen. It's very large, very long, sort of like a cone shape. It's very large in comparison to their prosoma or their head. It keeps this very large opistosoma because even after it's already made that net, it will actively add on more silk to its prey after it catches it because it makes its nets very quickly and they're rather small. They're just stretched extremely wide to cover a large area and effectively act like a fisherman's net. But to make sure it covers a wider area and that it's harder for the bugs to escape, it will tease the silk so that it's very thick and fluffy, and this makes it like cover a wider area even though there's like very little silk that's actually there. They got their name because of their face's apparent resemblance to the mythical creature of the same name, the Ogre from Scandinavian folklore. I personally don't see the resemblance because the ogre is like a large green goblin-like thing, and this is a big spider, but I guess whoever discovered it, they do them. Carl do Carl. They look scary, but cartoonishly so. Like they're trying way too hard to be angry. If you've ever seen one's face, it really looks hilarious. It looks like they're trying way too hard to be this just angry looking thing. But then certain other species look almost goofy, like they look almost cute because of these big, huge eyes, and especially if their fangs are turned upwards, they look happy as opposed to just being cartoonishly mad. They make egg sacs much like many other spiders similar to their kind. The females are much larger than the males. Along with their posterior median eyes, they have a smaller pair of eyes underneath and two other small ones on its back that detect motion. And in some species, there's one like tiny one right in the center of their forehead as well. So unique eye arrangements vary from species to species. Some of them have more standard looking pedipalps, but others have these like big brushes on the end of them. And these are probably for grooming and cleaning. They also likely serve the purpose of assisting the spider with hunting and teasing its net. But yeah, you can get some pretty incredible looking pictures of these guys. These guys make for some of the most coolest looking spider photos you can probably find. If you ever encounter these guys in the wild, take some pictures because you can get some wild looking visuals with them. And though some of them may look intimidating, they are perfectly fine for you to handle, perfectly safe. Not really inclined to bite, especially not during the day. I wouldn't interrupt them while they're hunting because, they're doing their job and, they're focused and at work. But if you encounter them during the day, they are perfectly fine for you to handle them. They're not going to hurt you or anything. So if you do encounter them out in the open, they are perfectly safe. And there's 67 or so species inside the family, though that also does include humpback spiders as well. But the majority of them are these netcaster spiders. But yeah, that is going to do it for my look at the ogre-faced netcaster. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit like and subscribe. Comment down below what arthropods or other animals you want me to cover next. And consider joining my Discord, link in the description. We're growing a like-minded community there. And, I'd appreciate if you came and hanged out or had fun. Just give your support. And see you guys in the next video. I'm the Phantom Agent 44. Peace out. Good night.